What's up, guys? Welcome to GoGo Motoring YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing the initial owner impression review of my new daily driver, the 2021 Mercedes E350. So if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you know that I've been in search of a new daily driver, and I posted a video where I talked about all the different cars that I test drove as part of that search, and then ultimately settled on this 2021 Mercedes E350. So I've owned this car for about a couple months at this point, put about 1,000 miles on, and I intentionally waited to do this kind of initial owner review until I at least put 1,000 miles on the clock driving with this car. And the purpose of today's video is for me to kind of share with you, sort of first owner impressions. And I'm going to continue posting these types of videos, over the course of my ownership of this car, just to kind of let you know how this ownership experience has been. So let me kind of begin by just sort of sharing with you, in short, this car's been amazing, and I am so incredibly glad that I bought this as my daily driver. It's exactly what you need your daily driver to be. It's practical, it's comfortable, it's luxurious, it's sporty. It's appropriate for any type of an occasion, and it takes all the boxes that I have for my daily driver. And the one thing I want to kind of talk about specifically, kind of start off this discussion with, involves the engine. So last year I posted a review of a 2022 Mercedes E350, and that was a car that I seriously considered buying. Almost bought that particular one, decided against it at that time, and then obviously bought a similar car a year later. And the one thing that was a little bit of a turnoff for me when I test drove the 2022 E350, it was the engine, right? So the engine the engine in these E350s is a turbo four-cylinder engine that produces 255 horsepower. The outgoing model, the E350, had a naturally aspirated V6 engine. And then sort of that E350, this is the entry-level model for the W213 generation. The base model, the base engine is this turbo 4, and that's not unusual. A lot of cars, have done that. If you think about the BMW 3 Series, back with the E90 generation, the N52 was a naturally aspirated inline 6 engine that was sort of the entry-level engine. And then if you wanted a faster engine, you get an N54 twin turbo. And then when the F30 came out, the 328i, or the entry-level 3 Series, was replaced with the N52 was replaced with a turbo 4-cylinder. So I think that's just sort of been a general trend for all manufacturers. And that was the one thing that kind of turned me off during the initial test drive. I just didn't feel like the car had enough power when I was driving it, and it just wasn't the most charismatic engine. But I can tell you, now that I've lived with this engine now for a couple of months, I can tell you that the 4-cylinder turbo engine is just fine. It's more than fast enough. I mean, in everyday driving, it's got really good pickup off the line. I mean, 0 to 60 I think is 6.1 seconds, so it's not super fast, but it's not super slow either. And I think it's particularly quick in kind of that 0 to 30. So like when you're taking off from the traffic light and you hit the gas, like the car moves pretty quickly, shifts through the gears pretty quickly, and does a great job. So from kind of the acceleration perspective, it's fine. I think during the test drive, I'm so used to driving naturally aspirated inline 6 engines that are super responsive. So with a naturally aspirated engine, when you apply the throttle, the car, the engine immediately responds. With the turbo engine, it takes a little bit of time for the turbos to spool and to kick in. So there's always a little bit of a delay between your pushing the throttle and then receiving corresponding power in response to the application of the throttle. And I think basically some of the complaints that I had with this engine when I test drove the car last year, as I've lived with it more, and as I've become familiar with it more, I think the bigger issue, or kind of the bigger kind of point of it is that it was just maybe that like sort of delay it being a turbo engine. So once you hit the gas, there is a little bit of that delay, but once the turbos sort themselves out, the car starts going pretty quickly and accelerating to the point where you have to lift off the throttle pretty quickly. The engine still doesn't have the best sound. I mean, I think that's got to be the case with any sort of a 4-cylinder turbo engine. Like the sound is like not the best, but in terms of performance, acceleration, speed, pickup, now that I've lived with the car, I can tell you that it's a lot better than what my initial impression of it was when I test drove that car. So that was sort of the biggest concern I had buying this car. Is I was really worried about whether I was going to like the 4-cylinder turbo engine, and I think that the answer to that is this is just fine. It's perfect for a daily driver. Is this like some sort of a sports car engine, an engine that's going to win you a bunch of drag races? No, but you really don't need that when you're driving a daily driver on the back roads where the most you're going to go is maybe 50 miles an hour. And when you're on the interstate, just the way that 9-speed automatic transmission, the way that the engine works, I mean, you can be cruising at 80, 85, 90 miles an hour at low RPMs and like not even feel it. I mean, the car feels the same whether you're going 20 miles an hour or 80 miles an hour. So the engine's fine. I was always impressed with the handling in this car. It being a rear-wheel drive. The reason I bought the E350 is because that was the only model or the trim level that came equipped only with rear-wheel drive, not the 4MATIC. I'm a rear-wheel drive type of guy. I love rear-wheel drive dynamics and the way that the car feels, and therefore I wanted to make sure that I had that here. So from a handling perspective, this car is incredibly precise. It feels like a BMW on the back roads. It feels like a BMW in corners. The rear-wheel drive dynamics are perfect. The car is incredibly accurate. I literally have to make no adjustments to the steering input once I go in a direction. Like wherever I turn the wheel, that's where the car's gonna go. Sorry. No input, no additional input needed. And sorry, get some of these parts here. It feels so sharp. If you follow my channel, you know that I just recently replaced the engine, the suspension on my 2007 BMW 328i Coupe. I put brand new sport suspension there. So that car's got brand new suspension, and I can tell you that even though this car is a 4-door sedan, even though this car is heavier, sorry about that, guys. Even though this car is a sports sedan, even though this car is heavier, from kind of a driving dynamics perspective, it's as nimble as my 3 Series is. That's how good the suspension and the handling in this car is. And then beyond that, just this car is so comfortable. I mean, and what it's important, if it's gonna be your daily driver, you're gonna take this thing to work, you're gonna go take it, transport your kids, to school, to sports, to everywhere. Sometimes you just need a car that's a little bit more sort of dialed back than, like my 2007 BMW Z4M, which is just like a car that you need to rev out, you need to drive hard. There's certainly an occasion for that and a time to do that, but oftentimes for your daily driver, you're not necessarily looking for that. I mean, you're just trying to get your things done, and you want the car to help you do that with minimal fuss and minimal problems. So yeah, the handling's great. The kind of the luxury of the car, like the ease of car to live with, is great. And yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly happy customer. So far, so good. And I'm looking forward to continuing to keep you informed on how this ownership experience goes. One thing I'll note is that if there is one negative that I've had once I got the car, and I think this may just have to do with the fact that the car's was sitting on a dealer lot before I bought it and stuff like that. I think there were a couple electrical glitches when I first got this car, like nothing major, like everything that you could reset, but the camera system stopped working a couple times, forcing me to reset it. But since I've done that, like there haven't been any issues, and since I've been daily driving the car, I haven't had any issues at all. But there was an issue specifically involving the camera system. A couple times it didn't work, and then I think at one point there was like a check engine light on, but like the moment I turned the car off and turned it back on, it never appeared again. So I kind of chalked that up to just, you know, the car sitting on the car lot, not having been driven, and then like sometimes that happens with these German cars. Like if you don't drive them, like some of the electrical stuff kind of starts you start getting some kinks. And that's probably the best way to describe it. So that's probably been the only negative part so far, you know. And I also, you know, that negative is, you know, comparing it to my wife's 2018 Mercedes GLE 350. That dang thing's got 75,000 miles, and it's been as reliable as any car can be. So anyway, stay tuned for more videos. I'm gonna continue kind of posting and reporting back on the ownership experience. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks, guys.